Where? Where's the evidence?
No, it means two.
In what language?
In Samoan.
Well, I'm Samoan, German, Chinese. When you mix it together, it means two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it means four.
It's true. Welcome to another episode of Nights at the Brown Table, a podcast of three Pacific Islanders sharing our views and the lens through which we see the world. I am Sefa.
I'm Sila.
I am your father. Lamah, hi. Songstress, Jesus, Mistress, Mattress, Empress, and the Federatress. Lamah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This week we are going to review the new show, SIS. It is on Comedy Central. It premiered on the 22nd of July in Australia and New Zealand. The comedy sketch premise is described as a group of writers must create a new comedy show with their racist boss. Meanwhile, their sketch ideas come to life. Cousins Malia, Gigi, and Mickey are day one besties. From STI checks to body swaps, the girls master life one sketch at a time. So we watched it this week. What did you guys think?
I loved it. I've watched it a number of times. I think it is, to me, I could not stop laughing. I thought it was hilarious. It presented an accurate view of, I think especially because it was written by Islanders, played by Islanders and for Islander people. So I loved the show.
What's your favourite sketch that they did?
My favourite line is when Naki turns to Tom and goes, "F up, Tom." For me, that's my favourite. I think because it's so unexpected, and she said it with so much force, I could not stop laughing. But there's a lot of things that I cracked up at. I like when they talk about the brown doctor. Oh, how about a show about brown doctors? And then Tom is just like, "You don't have doctors."
But I know. Gangsters.
I loved that. I love Baba.
I think one of my favorite ones, it was probably in the bedroom.
Oh, yes.
One of them said, if he wants to do the hubba, he needs to wear the rubber, something like that. I was like, oh, sis, I'm gonna tax that. I think I loved how accurate it was. Like in terms of, especially for that particular scene, I laughed at what they were wearing.
Yeah.
And the hairstyle, and like she had the belt around, like, because that was such a very prominent look back in 2000 and whatever. Like all the Samoan girls,
2019. Back in 2019.
They had like the hair like this,
Yeah.
and like people can't see me, but then they'll do like take photos, like. Yeah, no, it was really good though. I have to commend the writers, and I just love that it is written by our people for our people. And everything is authentic in that sense.
I mean, I'm up and down about it. There are some things that I do like about the show, and then there are some things that I didn't think worked.
What
and so
did you
moving
think didn't work?
What I think didn't work, to be honest, I liked the boardroom, the planning scenes more than the actual sketches. I thought that scene, Naki, Ofia and Baba are hilarious.
Tom was hilarious as well.
Oh, I don't know, because you had me going through The Office, and I was like, I don't know if he's a Michael Scott.
No,
he's not subtle enough.
But to me, I felt like he was the Chris Lilly that we could have had. Even though Chris Lilly was good for Some Heights High, like as when he was like Mr. G. But to me, I loved how he played Tom.
For New Zealand?
For New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think I want to say there were some of the skits that were kind of like, oh, I can't really relate to this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's why there are different skits, because some of them were more relatable than others. Others I just didn't really resonate with.
Yeah.
That was, especially the one I kept laughing at was Bubba. I keep laughing at her lines and just her persona. She's like, oh no, I feel like he makes me feel like I've got really good ideas. that part when she's in the stairwell just in the interview, I really thought was funny.
Apparently I have to do a tax invoice.
I did Google it.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, but then some of the skits, the Mean Girls one didn't work for me.
Going to church, because I used to go to a Samoan church, it's very accurate that sometimes you'll find that there are cliques within cultural churches. Yeah. And so there are always, like usually there are a group of people, because, if it's a Samoan church, because they know a lot more Samoan, they know a lot more customs, hence why they were called the whiakangakas, which means you think that you're high up. I loved how accurate to me, because it reminded me a lot of people that I knew.
I think my issue with it was I wish it wasn't so derivative. I think the
Of
reference
Mean Girls?
of Mean
Yeah.
Girls,
Okay.
because like the lines were just verbatim. They switched out some
The copy and paste.
some
Yeah.
words with Samoan words, which I think was the cool part.
Yeah.
But I wish that there was more. I wish not originality, because I do like the reference. I think it's an accurate comparison to the two. I just wish that it wasn't so line for line.
And I like that they broke the taboo of talking about sex openly. And they're not only just like within themselves among the friend group, but even as a family.
Yeah.
Because that's what usually happens when something happens within our family. We always have a family meeting.
Yeah.
And so I love that they did the whole family meeting thing and then talking about his dating, sexual orientation and all that.
Oh, in one of the skits with the
Yeah,
brother,
one of the skits,
with the brother.
lead-
Oh,
the
did
lead
you
playing
know I was
brother.
bi? And then like the dad was like,
Oh, that's sweet. That's fine.
and then everyone's like, what?
No, the sister's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm being honest, that's the part that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Why?
It felt, the show as a whole feels more Samoan to me.
Because they were playing Samoan characters.
Yeah,
But like,
and I think that's it's not because of that, but even those sorts of conversations, and maybe that's because the way I grew up, we don't have those conversations. I think it's important to have those conversations and that sort of stuff, but seeing it in an entertainment format, while that I recognize the good that it does and the purpose of the show, I get it. But in regards to a first-time audience seeing Islanders have that conversation, it'll take some getting used to.
wait, do you mean the conversation about sex?
Yeah.
So you guys don't discuss it as a... I think maybe because the parents were, in my mind, they seemed like they were New Zealand-born Islanders. It's very different to Island-born Islanders. So, for example, regardless if you're Samoan, Tongan or whatever, a lot of New Zealand-born Islanders or Aussie-born Islanders are very much this, I feel, would be similar to them. So regardless if there's Tongan, Samoan...
Well, they wouldn't have had it with...
The family?
With the girl there. And to me, in Tongan, they would have had the conversation, but the girl wouldn't have been there.
But the original conversation was supposed to be about
him dating
Balangi girls.
Balangi girls, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
and then it just switched because the boy was the one that... So she was just like, because it was him coming out.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just like, it wasn't like they were going to call him
out about him coming out. No, I get the circumstance, but even what it became, again, just as a first-time audience, it'll take some acclimating.
A first-time audience as a Pasefika person watching it, or as people that are non-Pacific?
As a Pasefika person watching a piece of entertainment about starring Pacific Islanders in that setting, because that hasn't happened before. It's seeing that conversation.
You mean
happen
within your life, it hasn't happened.
Yeah,
before.
but also like it's daifakapapa to talk about that stuff as a family. Like if that were to come up as a circumstance, it would have been.
So it's not normal to ask your son to have a talk with him about him being attracted to white girls.
No, about the sexuality part.
No, but that was the boy that chose to do that, not the parents.
Yeah, and I get that part, but if that were to have come up, the natural reaction for me would have been to not. They would have not talked about it with the sister there.
I think regardless of the fact, it's important to illustrate that there are certain discussions that maybe need to be taken, that need to have had in order for people to gain understanding. Because I understand that the notion of, people need to acclimate to the fact that you're talking about sexuality. But at the same time, you need to show people that these discussions need to take place. If people aren't able to handle a discussion about sexuality, I mean, we're in 2020. So...
Like if it's somewhat of a cultural thing, how much of the culture do we hang on to, and then how much do we let go of in order to find progression? Because if this is the progressive way, then there is some sort of cultural tradition that we have to let go of.
Because I understand if it's talking about sex in general, which to me is like a lot of the time we say those are conversations that females will have with their mother or sons will have with their sons. Sons will have with their father's mother, or sons will have with their...
Sons will have with their sons. I was like, we're all sons. Yep, we get the concept.
Sons will have with their fathers.
I'm on the same wavelength. Initially, I thought you were... I'm not sure if you're directing it towards sex, because that's what you said. However, sexuality and sex are two separate things to me.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, one is a subcategory of the other, but I get what you mean.
I
mean, they're separate. They're two different
they're
things.
two separate meanings.
Oh, I totally get that, but they're related.
I don't agree.
Your sexuality isn't related to sex?
I mean,
at all?
Sex is inevitable, but it's not related to my sexuality.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I think as well. Because I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to. It doesn't mean that you actually have to engage in sex in order. Because your sexuality is defined by who or what you're attracted to, right? And it doesn't always eventuate into having sex.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're two separate things.
I understand that there is a distinction between the two, but they are related.
But the way you phrased it was like
that?
you were intertwining both of them together.
Oh, I get what you... Yeah, I thought we were past that part of the conversation. I thought I shared that point.
No.
Oh.
Shared what point?
Yeah, we can keep talking about something else.
No, let's unpack this. Let's unpack this.
No, because I feel like it's semantics, and I was like, if we're not going to... if we can't find... I feel like if we can't find common ground on that or agree to disagree, I was like, it's kind of... We're just doing this.
Knocking heads.
Yeah, and it's
I'm
not.
really trying to understand because the way you phrased it was, it would take people time to acclimate to the notion of unpacking
Sexuality.
Even sexuality, I would have categorized it too.
But you said sex. So
Yeah.
that's why I got confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because if you said sexuality, then I would have understood.
Sense.
Yeah, but then when I talked about, it's like what that conversation even became about, we would have not talked about it in a family setting.
Oh.
I said that
Yeah.
already, and then I was like, yeah, and then that was my point.
Oh, okay. Do you think that it's just your family?
Yeah, I mean, that's also like a very, very strong possibility.
Yeah.
Probably.
Because the conversation that they had around the cover bowl, I find that's something that doesn't always happen. Like, for example, I wouldn't casually talk about sex with my brother there.
Is that her brother?
Yeah, so
The young...
Yeah. Her brother is there.
The one that came
out. Because that's her brother.
He said it was bi.
Okay, so the skits are all related.
Yes.
They're really all related.
Yeah,
so the
because-
characters are all the same people.
Yes, because they're
Besides
playing...
the girls.
Yeah, because they're playing... Whatever they discuss in that boardroom, that's what comes to life. The skit comes to life. And so
That makes
when
sense.
they were saying the whole thing of their bodies will, body swap, whatever. And so when they're sitting around the cover bowl, when they're talking casually about sex in front of brothers, that doesn't happen within my family. I think culturally that wouldn't really happen. How about you?
Yeah. Do you think it would?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe my dynamic with my siblings...
Is different?
I mean, not that we specifically... I mean, my brother's very Mormon.
Yeah.
But
Tyree, don't listen to this guy.
but I feel like we've had discussions where we're talking about certain aspects of sex, sexcapades and whatnot that may take place.
Yeah.
And then all I get is like rolling eyes, but I'm dead. Jokes, parents.
Listen to me and my story.
Like when it comes to opposite sex,
Yeah.
I can't casually like within me and my sisters, my girl cousins. But whenever it comes to male
males.
family members, I'm always very conscious to don't say anything valeur. I'm like that's something I would do with my friends, male friends. But if a male relative was there, I would watch my.
Or even with male friends, you'd.
Yeah, for male friends, I couldn't. Sometimes I can be conscious of it, but I can joke around with them about that kind of stuff.
Why do you think that is? Is it just because of the attachment that you have with them that, they're related to me?
In my mind, that's how I show respect to my male family members.
Unless it's being brought, like if it was somehow brought up in an open conversation, would you think you would participate in a conversation like that?
When we're having, if we're having a serious conversation, we would talk about it. Like if we're talking about, those kind of, but
if it was like
joke
a
around,
jovial,
nah, not like that.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand that.
I'm the same. Mine's the same one for that.
I go ngai.
Yeah.
You better just go quiet.
But that's the thing that I wonder why that was put in. If culturally it's not
But
widely done.
yeah.
But it is. It's called SIS, and it's based on 3 Samoan girls. But I noticed that a lot of people who did watch it, Pacific Islanders in Australia and New Zealand, regardless if they were Samoan, Tongan, Cook Islander, Koelau, Tuvalu, Fiki, a lot of girls resonated with that. And so hence why, like...
But that skit specific, like, I mean...
No,
just
with the show.
With the show. I just mean for that skit specifically, I wonder what balance they have to go through as creators to put in, like, for the sake of entertainment, put in the scene, even though it might not be that accurate of a portrayal of what's common.
I think it even might be poking fun at the idea of conversating about taboo topics in such a setting.
Maybe, yeah. And I can get that.
Yeah.
What I liked about those kids when they were around the cover bowl was that they even said, "Oh wait, are we allowed to do this?" So it goes to show how a lot
aware.
of them,
they're aware, yeah.
Aussie-born, New Zealand-born islanders were not always very on point when it comes to a knowledge with customs and traditions.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was in representation of a lot of us.
So in a sense, it's like us looking in of like, wait, what, are they actually talking about this?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
But I love that they touched on, like, for example, sexism, the gender pay gap, and different things. So for me, it's very different in comparison to other Islander movies or shows where I've seen where a lot of us are funny people, but it doesn't demonstrate how a lot of us are aware of social issues as well.
And I just want to also highlight one thing I especially loved was aside from the sexuality and someone kid saying, "Oh, didn't know I was bi," was the trans visibility in the show as well. I thought that was important.
What's her name?
Shout out to Nucky.
Beautiful.
And she's one of the funniest on that show.
You know when they bring in the Māori guy to do the whole cultural training, like diversity training, and then because there are certain things where I'm just like, oh, if people don't know what that means, they won't get it. But you know where Tom says something, and he goes, okay, we'll park that waka next to the Endeavour. The Endeavour is the
ship that Captain Cook sailed.
I could not stop laughing. And then when Fia, when they're saying like, oh, it feels heavy, and the Fia's just like, yeah, like oppression. Like, the lines and everything in the border were on point. Like, so funny.
It was like watching Twitter.
Twitter live.
I think it's awesome that it's a show created by islanders. I think it's awesome. That's an awesome concept. There's certain things that can only be made fun of from an outsider's perspective. And so when we're making comparisons to previously portrayed Islander like media that had Islander characters in it, when it comes to the Jonah Takalua thing, though there are a lot of stuff that's inaccurate and offensive, sometimes the offensive stuff is offended because it was true. And it could only have been pointed out from someone on the outside because I didn't see it. I didn't see it until it was on screen and I was like, okay, I can kind of see that that's true. Because there's things that people would point out to me that saying, oh, I've noticed that you kind of do that. It's kind of like a personal trait. I don't personally see some of the stuff that I do, but it's not until you screenshot my facials and then you put it on Facebook on my page for my birthday that I've noticed. I was like, oh, wow, my eyebrows are like way up on my hairline when I'm explaining stories to her. And it's kind of like that. But there are certain things where I was like, oh, this right now they're towing a line. And I was like, I want to see them kind of cross it. And even though I brought up the whole sexuality thing as in like, oh, that's not really how it would go down, I appreciate the standpoint where they're like, no, we're going to go for it. Like I enjoy when a show has the guts to go there.
It. Like I think, like for example, something that Chris Lilly didn't have that they do have is that they are Māori and Pasefika in comparison to Chris Lilly. So for example, even how Tom is portrayed, he is Chris Lilly. That's how a lot of people view us, which is gangster, single mothers and all that stuff, which is what he was kind of portraying there. But what I love that they did was they showed the range that our people have. We're not just, because we do have Jonahs in our life, but we're not just Jonah. We have Bubbas, we have Fia, we have Nakis, we have Malia, we have G, we have all these people, and it shows the range of our people. And so that's something that I appreciate, which is because it was written by people that are us.
I think one important notion to make is also that even though this is written by Pacific Islanders, at the same time, I do feel like I'm on the outside looking in because it was written by females and it's cis and it's for females. Not exclusively for females, but I also believe it illustrates maybe the sisterhood culture that also exists, which is something that we're not privy to.
Accustomed to. Yeah.
I was going to say, one of the things that didn't really hit for me was the one about the grandma.
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah, that was the same as me. I fast forwarded.
I thought it was so funny.
I was like, why are they speaking Spanish?
No, because
Because
they
it's
were
emulating a
It
telenovela.
shows like how everyone has their own version.
versions
Yeah.
of stories. And then when the grandma comes in and she tells the truth, where she was just like, yeah, and then your grandpa, he left his Palangi wife, and they're like, wait, he was married? I thought it
And that's
was
how
so
your
funny.
German Chinese is.
And she was like, when I was young and beautiful, now I'm just beautiful. I thought she was so good. I loved that one.
It took a bit to get to though.
Yeah.
I have to say.
The shop one?
Oh, I resonated with that so much.
Me too.
Oh, I haven't-
Oh, me, every
Maybe I'm
time.
just so oblivious.
The thing for me
What?
is like, growing
I'm
up
so
in New
oblivious. Why have I never
Zealand,
been?
every time if I had my school uniform and my bag on, I would always have to they would always tell me leave my bag at the register, so that I wouldn't steal anything. And then there was even one time I remember walking into Pack and Save, I was eating Oreos, and we were shopping, and then all of a sudden I see the security. He's just following us down the aisle, and I'm thinking, oh, what is he following us for? He walks up to me, and goes, "Did you pay for that?" And I was like, "I walked in with the Oreos," and he goes, "Are you sure? Where's your receipt?" And for me, I'm just like, "Oh, what the
Why
heck?"
would I have a receipt for a pack of Oreos that I bought days ago?
For real.
I came in eating this, and it's happened to me quite a few times, like a lot at the stores, where they will follow me or they will watch me or what I'm doing.
It's happened
And so I
so
always,
much.
how I walk into a store, you will see me that a lot of the time I will make sure that my hands are visible. So either I will have my hands behind my back or I put them down so that they can see I'm not going to steal anything.
And not even just that, like before I even go to the store, I think about how I look and how I'm going to portray myself. So when I walk in, I'm like, oh, hi, good afternoon, like blah, blah, blah. Have this conversation so that they know that I'm not here to like steal something, even though it still happens and they still follow me around.
Does it still happen to you now?
No, actually
recent.
as, because I didn't go outside, so.
I think sometimes I feel like right now it's I kind of have a complex about it now. So even if no one's following me, I'm still, because I'm so
Out of
used to
habit,
doing it,
yeah.
that if I look up close up to something, I will put my hands behind my back so they can see I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
I'm not putting it in my bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you, because I confronted one of the security guards before. I was in JB Hi-Fi. But in this particular one, I was with my cousins and my siblings. And I hate saying this, but like, I knew as soon as we were going into that store, we were going to get followed. So I drifted away from them.
So you saved yourself just in case?
Yeah, because, I didn't want to be in a group. I didn't want to just be seen as,
Part of them.
the stereotype. But anyway, it didn't even work because, blah.
They tailed you.
Yeah, they told me. And I was
They
like,
tailed
and
you.
I put him, I was like, is there something wrong?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm just doing my job. Oh, so you're racially profiling me?
Yeah.
What are you doing? No, but then he was just like, oh no, it was just, yeah. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm not doing anything, so thank you.
It's a piss off. Yeah, no, I don't know.
You never had, I feel like you have.
At school, I remember at the local Coles, they would make they made every school kid that came in. Because it wasn't just me, it was all the school kids.
Oh, no, not with us.
And it wasn't just, because it wasn't just me, so the local school
Okay.
kids, everyone.
Every
even
student,
Every
yeah.
student, the Asian ones,
that's
the
cool.
Islander ones, all of them
Yeah.
had to present it, open up your school bag. To be honest, for good reason. Because the
lot
boys
of
I
kids
was going, the boys I was going with, I was relying on them to steal the food so that I could
Wow.
eat. And I was like, "No, I'm not going to pack. I'm not going to pack." And as soon as we're out, what did you get? Did you get the chips that I wanted? Salt and vinegar. I wanted salt and vinegar.
Oh, yeah, this might go to flavour as well. Salt and vinegar. Ooh.
Salt and vinegar, and then the balsamic vinegar now.
So you
on
played
the
into
kettle.
the stereotype.
I didn't play into it.
You got other people to play into it for you.
No, but
Not
heaps.
for-
Because
I didn't make them, but they did it.
Because I do think that a lot of the
While
time
they're there.
in school, a lot of kids, regardless of race, some of them do steal.
Yeah,
and a
hana.
lot of them do steal.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna be honest. The only reason why I didn't steal was because I was scared I would get a big hiding.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I thought it was wrong. So for me, like that's the honest truth for me was I didn't steal because I was
Yeah,
scared.
I get that.
Yeah. You can see it for free, those in Australia and New Zealand, if you go to comedycentral.com.au and you click on SIS, just watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Twitter, Leah Sangote, she tweeted out and it got a massive response from Twitter world, and then eventually people had started posting it on Instagram. Tweet said, I really am all for seeing more Māori and Pasefika women on our screens. I mean, I ran Sunga magazine. She was the editor for Sunga. But
Flex.
anyone else tired of this brown girl, hyena, loudmouth, dirty jokes, ha 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 narrative? Would love to see New Zealand on air fun shows like maybe PI career women in the corporate world. And so with a tweet, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Like you said, don't know why you had to flex that you were an editor. Like, I'm sorry, you didn't need to show your credentials. I don't know why we can't just be happy that there isn't our people in the writing room, and also our people acting in the series. If that's what you want, it's just, if you want to see Pacific Islanders be PIs or detectives or doctors or lawyers, go ahead and manifest that yourself, sis. Like, happy for you to do that, but don't rain on other people's parade. And I didn't like how she used hyena.
Yeah.
Because sis, we ain't hyenas. So you might have been the editor for Sunga magazine, but clearly you wanted to segregate yourself, and I ain't about that energy. So you know what? Cancelled. No, I'm joking.
No. Because the thing for me is...
Cancelled.
I loved Sunga magazine. I
don't even know what it is.
Oh, so for me, because we were in Australia, I could never buy it.
No need to be bitter now.
Cancelled.
I don't even know what it is, but I'm a cancelled magazine
But
I never even
used to
heard
look up
of.
the site because I couldn't buy it here
Yeah.
in Oz. And so she would always feature like Pacific Islanders in there, Pacific models as well. And then there would be like different articles on different people and they're significant in the community. In regards to her tweet, I kind of get where she's coming from.
Same as me.
And I agree in
Yeah.
some in other aspects, because she later on tweeted a few other tweets. The only thing I didn't agree with was her tone and why she had to rain on that parade. And at the same time, for me, I am what she described.
Yeah.
I am the brown girl, hyena, loudmouth, dirty jokes, ha 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 narrative. And there's a lot of people, like a lot of women are like that as well. And at the same time, I've never seen that on TV. Like, I've never seen that narrative. It's a stereotype that we have about the hyena laugh, and it's something that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
Even during the episodes, you will hear me like cackling away. But I agree with the fact that would love to see more shows out there. You know, women in the corporate world and whatnot. I just don't like that she identified that you can only be a certain way. There are heaps of women in the corporate world who are just like that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there more media with that sort of personality in New Zealand?
I've never seen it on TV. Like, in
Is she
a
referencing
show,
Bunny and Bunny?
Because didn't she tweet this
Yeah.
as soon as it...
She tweeted it on the day, so it just rained on. Sis is just like, let them
just
shine.
started.
Yeah,
It just
let
started.
them shine. Like, to me,
Yeah.
she just hadn't watched the show. If she had watched the show,
She had... Wait, okay, let's rewind. What do you mean she didn't watch the show?
no, because if she had watched the show, she wouldn't have thought that. Because no way are they fitting a stereotype. I mean, for example,
The-
where we talked
the
about in the
boardroom skit,
boardroom,
yeah.
where they talk about the stereotypes and how a lot of people think or portray us. And so to see, I was like, reading her tweets, I was like, she did not watch the show. If she watched the show, she would know that it's us fighting against stereotypes.
Because, like, the skit in the boardroom, they touched on it. Like,
Yeah.
what about doctors? And Bubba was like, gangsters. And then next minute, Tom was like, all over the idea.
Yes. Yes. Love it.
So that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
She didn't watch the show.
And what I liked about I appreciated your self-awareness of almost like fitting that personality, but also embracing it to the idea where I can still be a lawyer, a doctor, a politician. I can be whatever and still have a loudmouth hyena laugh.
Yeah,
I don't understand why personality has to
Dictate what type of profession you have.
profession you go. Yeah, I love that.
And be proud of it as well.
And be proud of it
Love
too.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was an interview that they did with Tangata Pacific. I'm not sure if you guys seen the video, but I was watching it earlier today, and the question was why, and then Gabby said that to empower our young Māori and Pacific girls to be able to see themselves and see their stories and to feel heard and to feel seen. And I thought that was powerful.
Yeah. Like, anytime I hear that there's going to be a movie or a TV show, I'm all on it. Like, especially when it shows people that look like us.
You'll be able to Sila's, or she's got the tickets. She's got the tickets to
legit.
the receipt.
Because a lot of the stuff that she makes me watch, I'm like, okay, I don't really like this. The one thing I will vouch, when she made me watch Legend of Barontoa,
Oh, that was good, yeah.
I thought that was a good movie. I thought the acting was good. And maybe I swear, sometimes it's the pride in me where I'm just like, oh, this is a Tongan movie. That's why I liked it. Because even with Sis, I was like, this feels somewhat intimate. I don't really like this.
And just to reiterate, like, anytime there's a movie or something, you best believe, and I don't mean to put Sila on a show, but like, Sila doesn't have her driver's license. But you best believe you gotta see her if it's in Campbelltown.
But like, for example,
Driver's license.
I'm just saying, like,
I will catch the bus,
You're a
the
dog.
train,
Nah,
the
Lamah's a dog.
Uber.
Lamah is on base.
Flags,
Leave that in.
flags, my driver's license. No, but what I mean to say is that
We know what you meant.
you don't have your driver's license, so go get none. No, but for real, like, I just love seeing that passion because you're always sharing things that are of our culture and of our people, and I think that's really important as somebody who is, because like, so most of these movies I don't even know about, but it's not until like it pops up on Sila's feed and whatnot, like she's so aware of what's happening in the creative spaces of Pasefika and Maori people, and I think that's super really cool to have. Yeah. Like I don't want to say I understand, like what you guys are saying too. I do understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, like,
Oh, you just
Don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't be a Debbie Downer, man. Come on. Just support it. I sound like I'm at the
and like
airport.
Sefa said, like, if you were the editor for Single magazine, I mean, use your power and make that narrative. Then
Wait, can I just say though, there was a tweet as well where it said, you know, there's this, you know, Pacific excellence, and sometimes things are just Pacific. And I totally understand that. I'm all for our people, but if something is trash, it's trash. Sis is not trash. That's what I just want to reiterate.
Production-wise,
if there's some things,
budget,
some things that our people put out, and I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna share that because I think it's trash.
Like what?
No, I'm not gonna emphasize.
Wait, like what? What have
Nothing.
you seen recently on the
But
media?
there are heaps of movies and shows out there. So I just want to shout out some of those movies. So there's Vai, which is another movie about Pacific women. There's a movie called Mahana that you can watch on YouTube. You have to pay a little bit. There's The Legend of Baron Toa.
Do you reckon they're going to get Islanders to play Hamilton? The Hamilton cast
Yeah,
when
aren't
it
you?
comes here? I heard Paulini's Angelica.
Aren't you thinking of auditioning?
I know.
You'd be really good as Piggy.
And Peggy.
The Skyler Sisters. Angelica.
And Peggy.
I'm laughing, but I haven't even seen that.
I gave you my Disney thingy.
I'm laughing because I feel like Michael Scott, and I want to be a part of something. With the creation of the show Sis, what do you think this groundbreaking show / highlight means for the future of Maori and Pasifika people that are in the creative industry?
I hope that this will open up more doors. I love that Hanel, what she did with the writers, she had other younger writers come in and be able to help as well, putting them on so that they can also be seen and heard as well. So I love that not only did she open an opportunity for herself, she enabled other young Pasifika people to have opportunities. And so I hope that this will continue on, that we'll be able to see more range within our people and to make it a comedy central that's huge. And so I hope that we're able to see more range, TV shows, more movies showing us, and at the same time made by us, but also for a wider audience as well.
And I hope that it develops to a point where it's known for its quality and not just because of its representation. Often with the conversation around representation, there needs to be a first somewhere, so I understand its purpose and its role. But eventually, I want it to just be like stuff like this to just be known because it's good, not because it's like, oh, it represents and it's stuff like that. People can relate. That's cool, but it's also just a really quality show. That's first to me. That's first and foremost that I hope this gets
Continues.
to. Yeah.
Sure.
I'm excited. My sentiments pretty much mirror what both of you have said. I'm just excited for our future, whether it's our kids or our other people out there who are creatives and whatnot, that they're able to see themselves in the people that are represented on TV screens now, or even just other people like in the writing rooms with Hanel and whatnot, that there's no limit to what your vision or your dream is as a Pacific or Samoan person. Sorry, I don't mean to single out someone in general, but I feel like I converse this idea with the people that I surround myself with my cousins and whatnot, because I want them to know that it doesn't matter where you're from. Like, you might be from Western Sydney, or you might be from even deeper in Western Sydney, like deep, deep.
Southwest.
But like those places don't define who you are. and that there is such a wide world out there that is waiting for you to grab by the balls and just to squeeze them and just to rip them off, and then go out there and do your thing. So I'm really excited to see where this takes people of Pasefika people, Maori people, Indigenous people. I hope that they're able to really finesse and keep working on their craft and honing it on their craft, and that they're able to excel and fly. Because I believe our children are our future. Let the value show.
He doesn't know the word.
School of Rock. You don't even know the second line?
Yes, I do.
Children
Are the future.
Teach them well and let them lead the way.
way.
Why the why? He's real Aussie today.
Where are you from?
Why?
Huh?
Where are you from? It's like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Deep Western Sydney. That's where he's from.
I'm from Starbuck.
You should have just labeled
North
it.
Mead.
Let's go.
North Mead.
What are we talking about? How deep?
From Simo's Beach.
Is it Simo?
Simo.
Simo?
Yeah. So that's us, and I did the brown table.
Go. No, go.
Go.
So that's us at Night at the Brown Table. I'm Sefa.
I'm Sila.
No, I'm shallow.
Signing out.
Good night, everybody.
The eyebrows as well. What's happening?
That's the Sunday mix.
No, harmonize.
Yeah.
Stop recording. Stop recording.
We got this.
Go again.
Bring my buddies in the yard and that can't wait till they all come back.
Till they all come back.
Wonderful coming back to me.
Hey.
Back.
Now drop it low for me.
Hey.
Baby, can't you see? I'm a robot MTC at the MTC. Hey everybody, welcome to the MTC.
That was a really